Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. We got the usual gang plus Shadic, special guest. And Shadic, again, congratulations on your first place at Cirque. Amazing tournament run. And you've been keeping up the momentum, of course, at Collision as well, at second place there. So, would love to hear your thoughts on just your recent tournament runs. I mean, anything particular you feel like as, because I feel like you've been doing a great job of getting like into the top eights and stuff like that, but really breaking through and getting into these top fours is something that's very, very difficult for a lot of players. So do you feel like there's anything that, you changed up, or was it you just like sticking on the grind? What do you feel like kind of helped you breach into that top four area?
Um, yeah, so like you were saying, like I kind of like stayed like at getting sevens and stuff like that for like a decent while, and then really recently I started going like top four, and I'm trying to think like what did happen. Like I don't know, I kind of just played cleaner. I think earlier on I would get into top eight, and then my mind I feel like it wasn't switching to like, oh, it's top eight. Like this person I'm about to fight is probably like fighting for their life, and so I wasn't really thinking about it that way, especially like at like Rise and Grind or like I don't know any other events. Um, but now every single time I get in top eight, I'm just like, okay, I need to like focus so I just don't lose. Because whenever you get in top eight, you just lose. It feels really bad because you're just like, oh, like why are you even here in the first place, you know? But I think I just focused up every single time I got to that spot and just like actually had a game plan every single time. Not that I didn't have before, but just like really focusing like whenever I got to that spot. I think overall, and so I've been just progressing. I feel.
Yeah, most competitors always describe top eight as like it's just a whole nother environment. You're usually playing on
Yeah.
stage. So like the physical environment could be a lot different. Obviously, you could play on stage leading up to top eight, but it's just a whole another environment, a whole different level of players, right? It's almost like the final level of the tournament if you want to put it in video game references. So yeah, I mean, congratulations on that. And I mean, it's a very difficult thing to do. So I mean, very, very high praises across everyone or across the whole community, because I feel like there's been a lot of players that kind of breach into that area, but it's hard. It's so hard to breach even farther, right? Because you're going up against players that are usually more experienced, and you got to start really playing maybe some of the harder matchups or the more like current meta matchups and stuff like that, which transitions into I guess the main topic of this episode. Would really want to hear your thoughts on Corrin. If you guys want to check out something a little bit more in the past, I did an interview with Shadic at Super Smash Con. So that was really interesting to hear your thoughts on Corrin, where Corrin lies. And that was kind of the time where Corrin was having I guess not resurgence, but more of a come up in the meta. We saw Corrin kind of getting higher placements and stuff like that. So would love to hear your thoughts now, because we're seeing Corrin as a counterpick character from Spargo. We're seeing you and Nao. I mean, both of you guys getting into the top eight of Genesis, which was probably the most stacked tournament of this year so far. So would love to hear your thoughts on Corrin, and then of course if any of the other hosts wants to add on to that or ask you any more questions. But I guess what is your initial thoughts of Corrin in this current meta? Do you think she's a bit overrated, or do you think she does well into what the current matchup or the current meta matchups are, which is like Steve, Game & Watch, right? Like you probably have to beat Steve, Game & Watch, Sonic if you want to win a P tier event. I don't think that's any surprise. You might not have to fight all three of them, but you're definitely going to have to beat one of them throughout the tournament, right? So how do you feel like Corrin does against the current meta, and do you think Corrin's overrated overall?
I definitely feel like Corrin like does well basically against every meta character essentially. And so like I definitely think she has the capability to win a PT or a major where all those characters are in attendance just by herself basically. But I think right now, because like she's like barely like being so popularized, I feel like some people are still like need to learn the counterplay, and especially in like certain situations, like people are still getting hit by like a special shield, which I don't know if I explained the counterplay to that last time, but
You definitely don't explain
feel
any
free to feel free to introduce.
I want people to figure that stuff out on their own, because
they got it, man.
Yeah, they need to learn.
It's so easy. Like you just
really
do a YouTube search. I mean, if you want to, Shadic, you can tell people. But like, I completely understand
if you search it up, there's a literal video that was like years ago. But anyways, but I think obviously besides that, just like how to deal with her, like when disadvantaged state, like some people just like choose the worst options even then. But I understand, of course, because I feel like whenever you're fighting against Corrin, like just the way like she like scares you, honestly, it's really understandable what people choose, the options they do. But I think as time like times change, people will find like, oh, like, okay, well, I've already experienced this before, so I think I'll try this now, because it's not new to them. But I think some people on Twitter are like, oh, Corrin's just broken. Like, what were they thinking? And it's just like, bro, years ago you like didn't even know this character existed. Like, come on. And so it's just like, it's really funny to me how people's opinions can just change from like one tournament to the next, and it's just like, can be serious, man. Like, they put like a little bit of thought into it, but I definitely think like she has the capability, but she's not like insane, you know. So I definitely think she's like a really, really good character, not like insane, just a good character, which some people just can't accept. It feels.
So do you feel like the general community right now, it might be a knee-jerk reaction in terms of like overrating her or something like that, or do you feel like it's justified a bit?
I mean, I think a little bit of both, you know. Like I understand, but I'm sure like we're all doing really good. All the Corrins are doing really good right now. Like I feel like a lot of player bases have like this period of time where they all like for some reason do really good all at the same time. But I was gonna say that like we have good matchups, but no, not actually, because I'm still fighting like still fighting Tweak, and you know it's still not like going the best. But I think
even like
stuff
Fox
is
like
going well for us. Things are going well for us right now, and I think like at some point like something will happen, and so like people will see that and they'll be like, oh, never mind, just kidding, like it's never mind. But it's just like a one-time thing, you know. But I think for now, like people are kind of overrating her a little bit, but she's still really good. So you know, I'm never a Corrin like doubter in any form. So I never have been. So yeah.
How do you feel about that new tech that was found out in terms of like you don't have to tech the air pin? I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because I feel like that's a pretty big deal. And you can even, some characters can even like A land and maybe press a button or just double jump out. So that was recent anti-Corrin tech that has come out. Do you think that affects or like quote unquote nerfs the character a bit? Do you feel like that situation comes up a lot?
Okay, yeah. So I feel like that situation for me personally, because I've always like thought of like canceling the pin as a very like, as I already know how it works, I always thought of it as like a fake option. And so because of that, I don't even do it as much. And so if I don't see that the kick like forward isn't going to connect, I will probably just kick back or maybe cancel it if like I think there's not gonna know what's happening. But honestly, I saw the Twitter clip. I was like, okay, well, I barely even do that anyway. So, and honestly, I don't see people doing it that much because they kind of like, I guess, had to buffer shield, I guess. And well, some characters have like an immediate like aerial out of like falling, or like some characters like Cloud have like a B, they can do that. I think Loki Spargo's done it to me before. Like he's actually really good like at dealing with that. But I don't see it like being that big of a problem. But you know, it's just like, okay, one of the ideas I do have is that sometimes I will pin somebody and the hitbox is like behind me and I'll kick back, but I'll get the strong hitbox. And I'm like, yay. But I'm wondering like if you have time to tech it or not. And I don't know. You might. And that's the only case that like makes me a little annoyed, because sometimes when I get the kick back, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Which isn't supposed to happen really. But if there's kind of way to that, then I'd be like depressed. I literally got it on light. If you watch my set with him, that's like how I got like one of the stocks. But in that area, like it might be a little weird. But honestly, overall, like I don't even see people implementing it that much. Like especially like right now. Maybe in the future, as Corrin like terrorizes people, I guess. But we'll see. You know.
I guess maybe when people figure out how to SDI or shield SDI for
maybe
first, then you'll start worrying about like the more advanced counterplay. But yeah, seeing people get shield poked and all that other stuff from forward smash, and I mean there are situations where forward smash just kind of you got to deal with it right on like normal getup and stuff like that. But
get up, low shield, yeah.
Right. So, did any of the other hosts have any questions for Shadic? Like relaying to Corrin or the current meta?
So something that I think is especially dominant in your region, Shadic, with like Mutes and Lima, is how the mobility of these characters is. It gives them a lot of room to decide what kind of situations they want to play. And I mean, we talked before about how Corrin's main struggle, I think we discussed it in the last episode, how her main struggle is basically her mobility. And I was curious, how do you look at that dynamic nowadays?
It's like I'm thinking about playing against like these fast characters like Roy and Fox, and kind of how I just decided to just deal with them is kind of just swing preemptively. Like I don't really see anything happening to me if I swing like super preemptively and I'm at least like not like cornering myself. And so I can like obviously go in there and guess my way into winning neutral, but it's like there's like so much risk involved in that. Unless like I know what they're gonna do, then I'm probably not gonna do that. But mobility, like we've seen Violet succeed, and that's really like such a peon slow character. And Violet always has the range, but like Corrin has the range too. So I've always just thought like it doesn't really matter. And honestly, Corrin, people tell me all the time, like your Corrin looks so fast. Like I don't even know what you do. And I'm just like, well, I kind of just put like when you put everything together, like everything possible, your character comes like a little faster than they are. Which I think is a little bit true. But I've always just thought like, yeah, if you position yourself against a little bit of distance from somebody, it in some way doesn't really matter how slow they are. That's just what I think though. But plus her range, like I've always thought like it's okay, like how like ground speed, like slow she is, So,
right. And so like relying on undershooting, totally understandable, very strong in the current meta. I think Corrin does have a few limitations in her undershoots though, like mainly the fact that she doesn't have great like ground buttons outside of pin, which even if it misses, you get cornered. It's not all that. How do you kind of like deal with that? Because she kind of has to rely on landing aerials, right? So you don't just need space to set them up, but you also need a lot of time to get the jump off without being interrupted.
Yeah. So like you said, like pin, whenever I pin somebody's shield, I'm just like, oh, this is a really uncomfortable position. Like it's really uncomfortable. And so I try to like keep myself away from that. I've noticed whenever I feel like I'm playing quote unquote bad, I do that a lot. And it's kind of hard to like stop myself from doing it because I guess since I've been playing Corrin for so long, whenever I see somebody do like a whiff, like a whiff an arrow or anything with anything, I'll just do pin. And sometimes they won't like I don't have the frames for it. And so I just like put myself in a bad spot. And I do that like without thinking, So I kind of just like have resorted to doing nothing. Like if that makes sense. Like I've kind of like resorted to like just like standing there or kind of waiting for them to do something. But in terms of grounded options, like my grounded options are like jab, grab, pin, and very, very low key dash attack. And obviously down tilt, but like very,
dash
very low
attack?
key. Lowest key. Like lowest key. But it's just so weird because like dash attack is like I did it for a few fellas, I guess like Luis, and it would go through his shield, and he couldn't punish it for the life of him. I did like 3 times. It was the funniest thing ever. But that and like down tilt's like, especially like at 0, like I just never use it because it's just so bad on shield and doesn't combo into anything, so I never do it. Almost never.
That move's like -20, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
People be treating it like it's a Lucina down till I promise you, it is not.
Yeah, check the data.
It's not.
It's a lie.
But like okay, whenever I think of like me versus a grounded opponent, every time I envision it, they're like probably shielding. I don't know, like people just love to do that against me. Like people just love to just run up to me and just like shield. And I'm just like, bro, this is not how you play Smash Brothers. Like maybe in Smash 4, but like you really decided to start the game and then just do that. Like I don't know. It's just like, and I don't at that point I don't want to like interact with them because I would just know like their shield is a shield shortening. Breaking? I guess I must say breaking, but like it's shrinking. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Okay. So the shield is shrinking,
okay.
and so I'm just like, okay, well, if I just stand here, like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're just still shielding, and as long as I'm aware of your out of shield options, like
nothing should happen, right?
Nothing should really happen, and I don't have to risk anything unless I'm like in a really bad spot. And so I kind of think in that way. If they want to play like that, if not, then it's better for me. So.
And so, like, relying on not pressing a button, is that something that's been part of your playstyle for a while or part of, like, your recent innovations? Because, so in my personal opinion, I've competed in Smash at, like, a pretty high level. And I always, like, I know it's a really good option to sometimes just, like, not react and not throw things out. But it can be a very hard thing to do mentally because they are throwing things out. And so, essentially, if you're wrong, you don't really put them under any type of execution check either. So there's no like backup, you know what I mean? How is it for you to kind of like try to succeed without pressing buttons in stressful situations? Is that something that
I think one other, I guess, option I didn't mention was shield on its own.
Mhm.
I feel like in a lot of matchups, I kind of rely on parrying a lot.
Okay.
And after I get a parry, I'll usually get a down to or a jab or a grab. And that's how I kind of set up like the advantage state in most scenarios. So there's obviously that too. But in regards to like doing nothing, like I'm still figuring it out. It's like it's like a
That's fair.
it's like one of like the situations where I don't have like an answer, which I'm not supposed to have like one single answer. There's obviously like a bunch of things like scenarios like that can come up. But it's just like whenever I'm like in the game, I kind of find some way. Like they're gonna probably mess up somehow. Like they're at some point they're gonna
Right.
overstance. At some point, like they're gonna do something that's not like really safe. And so that kind of just works for me. But like doing nothing like obviously isn't always the answer. And sometimes I will decide to be raw and just like go in there. And like for example, like sometimes I'll just like full hop in front of the face and then tomahawk something or like do something really delayed, like a really delayed nair, but obviously risky. So it's just mixing everything up and hoping you're right, honestly. Like
Hoping you're right.
If you're wrong, then it could be bad. But
Yeah.
you know, but
You cannot go into a situation thinking about like the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. Like, you know, what you were talking about earlier on too, in regards to just like how, yeah, like you find obviously people are like shielding against you a lot, right? Because they gotta respect your hitboxes, but like also like for you on the next stage where it's like you're actually freeing yourself up to actually take advantage of that implied pressure, right? Because to your point and to Ramsey's point, like a lot of times with people, even if they instinctively know that, they usually are still, they either just don't do absolutely anything or look at anything, or they're just like, oh well, I'm just gonna swing again, right? But I love that you have the awareness there. It's like, all right, so what is your next step out of this situation? Because you essentially, you essentially threw rock, but I haven't thrown anything yet. So like, what's up? Like, like what are you gonna do to get out of this? And that's powerful. That's so powerful for a multitude of characters, and especially for Corrin, right? Because now they're stuck. They can't move anywhere. And like you talked about earlier, if you are in the appropriate position, then, your mobility is no longer this like big detriment, right? You can reach out and you can extend depending on what their out of shield option is, because they don't have many things they can do to kind of get out of there, right? It's like either some big escape or some limited like dish or whatever they have, right? And not many characters are going to be able to compete with the speed and the range that you're going to have in terms of those the normals that you have, right, with the Corrin. So I love you pointing that out, because I think for a lot of people they need to understand that's the next stage. Like now that you have convinced people to respect your hitboxes, now how are you going to use that against them, right? And really like adapt in that way. And that's like just a very traditional concept that seems to elude sometimes when people are learning the game.
It's fundies. But you don't get taught fundies. That's the hard part, right? You gotta figure it out.
You gotta learn it.
The hard way, actually.
The very hard way, yeah.
Well, when you live in a region with Lima, Mutes, et cetera, and you just have that merry-go-round of fun times every single local.
Fun times.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe not every single local, but definitely more than most people, I guess. Because Texas is humongous. But yeah, for sure.
So, I believe the last time, multiple times in Charles's case, that we've spoken with you, it was mostly a conversation on Corrin of you and Neo, and then what you both were bringing separately to the characters table. Since then, we've obviously seen Spargo start to have an uptick in Corrin usage. What would you say that Spargo started bringing into the characters, basically tree, that you guys hadn't explored already?
I feel like Spargo's Corrin. I've played against Spargo's Corrin. And first of all, I think it's really, really, really clean. Especially for how I guess little he's been playing her. I think it's really, really like not everything's there, of course. Yeah, like not everything's there, but like I can see he has the visions, and like for example, like stuff like forwarder into pin. Like I told him like, oh, you can like react and like you can do this. He's like, oh yeah, and then like he would like do it like so fast, and I was like, what the heck? But I think like Neutral wise, he's obviously just like one of the really top level players, and so that's gonna carry over to whenever he plays another character. And so I was playing neutral against him as Corrin, and he was just like doing like the most. There's something wrong with the way he does aerials. Like I don't like. I was like, okay, I know all the times you can do them, and so I'm going to parry it, and just I couldn't do it like so many times. Especially on up air, or he would just choose the best time to tomahawk, best time to just run at me. And so I think like in that, like he's very, very refined, like in almost every aspect. In terms of like disadvantage, like he's obviously very refined in that. The way I feel like the way he plays it is just like, the way I've seen him play as Cloud is very like, I'm not gonna do anything until you kind of come up here at me and I'm gonna swing, or choose to like air dodge at like the best moment while also fast falling. And so if you're wrong, then you're up there and I'm down here. And so I feel like he also like applied that to Corrin as well. Which are all things I'm sure like Neo and I have thought about, but he just does it like so immediately because he just like does it with his own character. But also in terms of like advantage state, he has like his own way of like, because I feel like advantage state with Corrin is so like there's combos of course, and then there's just like juggling on its own. And I feel like he's also very fine in that because I was playing against him and he was like would mess up like very few times, like in terms of like overextending and like when to like go for me when I was in the air. And so like he would like do aerials to the platform very, very well. He would just like do aerials close to the ground, of course, and that would frame trap me. And it was just so crazy. I was just like, how did you? I mean, like, I guess you have all these resources these days, but it was just like really like crazy to me how he was just doing all of that. But I think like I haven't seen his core very recently, but it's just so like clean. Oh, I also think he's very good at one frames, like one frames I normally get up. And so he does like back air on one frame. He does pin on one frame. Pin, by the way, is just a literal one frame. And then back air, if you think about it, it's also just one frame because back air's sweet spot is only active for one frame. And so he's just ridiculous. Like top players, top players are really good at punishing Omega up. And I wish I've practiced that for so long. Also, F-Silt. It's just so like I wish I was good at them, honestly. Like Leo, Spargo, like they're all really, really good at that. And so I definitely think he's good at that as well. He also I've watched him play Chase on Wi-Fi, and he was juggling Chase, and Chase landed and as Palutena, and he just like rising back aired Palu's landing, and I was like, wow, I would never have done that because I always think rising back air is gonna go above, but Palu's so tall that it hit her. Right. And so I was like, wow, that was really good because you kind of had no other way to kill Chase there because of how close you were to him. And like pin wasn't going to kill there, like insta pin. And I guess if you did like a down smash, a timber down smash, I guess. But back air is just so fast and like just obviously back air. So it was just the best thing could have done there. And so I think in terms of like that, like he really is implementing things from, again, his own character into core. And I think that's really, really impressive for sure.
It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, I know that you mentioned when speaking with Ramses earlier that you think Corrin has range to really compensate for a lot of the issues that she might suffer in mobility. I believe last time we had you on, one of the things that Corrin struggled with primarily was specifically characters that either outrange her through reach, like Samus, or characters that outrange her through just their sheer mobility, like Fox. And obviously, since then, I believe you've obviously cracked the code on those and been able to get wins in the highest level on both. What would you say that you have really done to kind of push those and compensate accordingly?
So, in terms of Samus, I basically played Yara, and to prepare for that set in particular, I played Quinn for like 2 hours plus. And he kind of taught me essentially every single aspect of the matchup, like what to do in every single situation. Like he like kind of rebuilt my entire neutral ledge trapping and essentially told me to just not edge guard. Now it's like, wait, but why? But like I want edge guard. And he kind of just told me like how to ledge trap because or not ledge trap, but like corner pressure. And well, thinking about it, it's like not necessarily corner pressure, but it's basically like setting up a wall just so she doesn't get past you. And so that's just something like I was missing before. And so I think adding that was super good. Shout out to him. Like, by the way, he helped like he's so much.
Quinn is great.
Yeah, for sure. And what else? Just how to just make the most of like every single situation. Like he really was like, dude, Samus is like not as good as you probably think she is, and here's why. And so I think that would helped a lot, of course. And I even played Icy Mist as well, and I was able. I think the complete shift on my gameplay just like essentially I just stopped like risking anything, because I would just kind of like, he told me basically like I should just go in there, but also just like fade back and just bait her, and it's just so effective. Like I was just like, really, it's just like that simple, I guess.
Her biggest weakness is that she commits very hard when she presses a button, and
Like
so like most of what you
grab,
forward air, grab,
yep.
dash attack, exactly, yeah. And so like,
And
how do you
so-
beat her? Well, it's by baiting out her commitments, of course. Yeah.
And so he essentially taught me how to do that, and as well with charge shot, and then it was just all really really effective. I was like, wow, thanks. But against Fox, so I had lots of Sparko at Collision, and I was like, oh, it's played flight now. And then I played him like 15 minutes later. I was like, okay. I didn't prepare as much as at all as I wanted to. But I was able to win. And I think the reason why I won was of how I was saying I was swinging preemptively, like very literally. Like I think at this point I've kind of stopped caring about laser. Like I think there was like a period, like second game 2, where I just got like say like 15% from laser. And it was like I could have just shielded, could have went to a platform, but for some reason I just in that moment I really wanted to send her so bad. And when we started out the set, I literally was running into him. He lasered, I shielded, and I jumped, and then he was like, "Oh no, I used my double jump. I forgot why. Oh, I think I wanted to avoid laser." And he caught my landing, and I was just like, "Oh, I don't even want to be in that situation anymore." So I kind of stopped caring about laser, and then every time I see him like at a range where he can possibly go in, like if he extends his dash, I just start swinging in that spot, and it worked out really really well. If I was doing like just fade back airs, or not, or I meant to say forward airs, but also just like back airing his dash attacks, and dash attack on a move on its own. It's just a move that I struggle with dealing with so much, because I was like, dude, I really don't want to shield, but you kind of have to. Like if you're like so close to him, like you're not gonna know what he's gonna do all the time. And then if you obviously you're shielding, then he has to grab. And okay, I want to talk about Fox's grab for a second, because people will be saying like, "Oh, it's okay, you got grab," like, but no, they put you on the platform and then they just react to your tech, or if you don't tech and you're taking 60 million% from upper. Just want everybody to know that one.
It's guaranteed either way, even if it's not a true combo. It is true.
But I was thinking about that. And I was like, dude, like, come on. But because I think Light like said recently, like he was like, he's gonna, I'm just gonna camp him because I don't want to deal with the mix-ups. I was like, oh, okay. But like he camps me, but he's gonna go in at some point because he kind of has to get a combo starter. And so I'll just swing like at that, and it worked out really well. Also, I think in that set he missed like a bunch of tech situations, and I like lived a lot longer than I necessarily should have. But we take those, I guess.
We take those for sure.
But I think like I'm trying to think of why I was in a tech situation in the first place, and like a lot of times it's just me not shielding the entirety of down air, or me just like getting hit with like the slowest like thing of all time. And so I try to limit that situation from happening as much as I can. And so putting all that together. Oh, also edge guarding. I've been trying to solve edge guarding against Fox for the longest time. And as Corrin, it's just not so simple. Like, I wish I was just Palu. I wish I could just down her. I wish it was Lucina. I wish I could just down her. But it's just not like that. Corrin, like, you can down tilt his side B, but if you miss, you're going to get forwarded. You're going to get downed off a ledge. You can back airs up B, but they try to limit the amount of times they up B overall, because they know like that's like the one thing you can do. And setting up back air takes so much time. And if they up B like really close to the stage, it's hard to know what to do, because you can also downer the ledge, which if you miss that, oh, you're getting so much damage if you miss that. Like, it's ridiculous. So it's just like knowing the tricks. Like, I was water viewing on my stream, and I like forwarded Light in the corner. And I was like, okay, I was playing it, and I was like, okay, how can I kill him? And I actually like forward down tilt, and like Nemo was watching, and he was like, okay, what if you did like forward dash tech? Fox fell out, and then you downered. I was like, wait, no key, because Fox is such a fast faller, he will literally probably fall out if he was off the stage. And so it's just stuff that like I haven't even put it all together. And I think when I do, it's gonna be like even better than it is now, you know. So I'm really looking forward to that day, but that day is not right now, but it'll happen soon, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting options. Even like ledge drop, double jump, nair. You could cover a bunch of different options on reaction. But then, like off that nair pop up, you don't have that much frame advantage because you're like rising with it, and then you kind of pop Fox up. You never want to pop Fox up higher than usual, right? Because the higher Fox is, the more he can kind of just drift towards stage, and then that's when Fox is so strong. He's actually one of the harder characters to frame trap on a juggle, just because his neutral air dodge fast fall is so strong. And
I think I've like literally only successfully edge guarded light like 3 times. One time was I down his up B. He tried up air dodging to ledge, and he got like the bounce off or whatever. Another time was he tried like I think fast fall fairy me, but he missed, and so he was all the way down there. And I just countered him, and if you counter the first like part of the hitbox, then they explode. And the other time was I back here to side B, which is weird because I don't know how a side B works. Is there iframes on a side B?
No,
I don't know.
No, there's
Okay.
no iframe.
And
So,
he's
like-
actually ahead. Like Fox's hurt box
He
is
shifts his hurt box.
He's
Ahead of the
okay.
in
hitbox.
front,
So-
and then the hitbox is behind him. So you should always be able, like if you clank with illusion, you just swung too slow. You should
Okay,
always
okay.
be
So
able
yeah,
to
I guess that's
hitbox
what's
out
happening.
of
I'm
it.
literally just clanking with it, I guess. So like I'll backer him, and it looks like I completely hit him, but it'll just go past me. But like, and that has the clank animation, and so I guess that's what's happening. But at collision, I got the backer, and I was like, okay, I guess. But
If you ever see the clank,
Yeah.
that means you should swing earlier. Like
Okay.
you see clank, that means you swung too late because you're hitting the hitbox, not the hurt box, and the hurt box is in front of the hitbox. So an illusion always gives you, like, especially in ultimate, you have more time to react to illusion because there's more startup. So I mean, the usual way I explain to edgeguard Fox is it's all about the only time he actually has mix is when he has double jump. When he has no double jump, you should be
Like, it's over.
pre-positioning and like pre-position for illusion. He didn't illusion and he sunk to Firefox. Then you pre-position for Firefox and then you execute. But it's all about like when and where Fox is going to double jump, how he's going to double jump. He also has forward air, which boosts him up a little higher. So sometimes like double jump fair, it's a pretty big hitbox and it'll put him a little bit higher than a normal double jump. So Fox has a good amount of mix. And then there's always the skill check of actually hitting the special, even though there is startup, it's still a skill check, right? And Firefox in Ultimate is just such a big hitbox. So the skill check is actually pretty hard in Ultimate, particularly Firefox. I don't know why they buffed Firefox so much in this game.
He needs it.
It's so random.
He definitely didn't need it, but yeah, they like they really wanted Fox to be good in this game. But yeah, I mean, even I think footstool down air was a really big part of your success. And I know, and I know Tweet praises a lot of your jab ones. I know you mentioned jab one in neutral, and he feels like a lot of Corrins don't utilize jab one. And he said he feels like Corrin, a lot of sword characters don't have like a disjointed jab. They usually jab with their physical hands or whatever. I mean, barring like Lucina and Mars and stuff like that. But very few characters actually have a disjointed sword jab. And you'll just like use jab one to poke. Sometimes you don't even finish it. And it's just kind of like throw out one, kind of see what the situation is afterwards. So Tuka's definitely giving you a lot of praise on that. And how you sometimes you'll delay the footstool down air and you're kind of like trying to anticipate / react to see if you actually got the footstool or not. Whereas other characters like Sephiroth, they have to immediately go into it. Like you just have to buffer. You can't like see if you got it or not, right? So I think that has helped you a lot versus rushdown characters. So do you still feel like, because I know at SmashCon you said you feel like projectile characters are the hardest like archetype for Corrin. Do you still have that feeling? Because you don't have like a footstool down air. Like there's no tech to, get through projectiles. It's just, at least with against these rushdown characters, it's like, oh, okay, Fox and Roy did like a cross up nair on me. I have an answer now. You can't just cross me up over and over for free. And now that there's that layer of like, oh, I can punish these rushdown options, and you have to play the neutral a little bit more safer. You have to respect my shield. And I believe Corrin has one of the best run-up shields in the game, if I'm not mistaken, like initial dash run-up shield. So I would love to hear your thoughts on just general archetypes. Like, what do you think is still strong? Do you still hold the same opinion as SmashCon?
I guess I would say that my how I see projectile characters has like decreased, like on how difficult they are. But I think the other archetypes are like characters that edgeguard / are super rushdown characters. I think one I haven't had the chance to like see how it is still is Sheik. That's another matchup that Neo and I both like think is like really bad. And he has his reasons. Like he's played multiple Sheiks, but I just thinking about it feel that way. But I just played like them in friendlies, and I haven't had a tournament experience. But just thinking about it, like she essentially is the same case with Fox, except she can actually edge guard. And
Has a projectile, can
has a
edge
projectile,
guard, can rush
and
you
I guess
down.
I guess the
projectile
only thing
too.
is like
Yeah.
you're less prone to dying, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
Unless you get gimped, of course.
Gimped and
That's
like
a trade-off.
they get their confirms, but you kind of had to let that happen. But I need to experience that, and yeah, edge guarding characters like Bayonetta, like I'm not sure if y'all knew, but Lima, like literally, I was lost 10 sets before I beat Lima at Collision. And it's literally ridiculous, like
great.
how I will literally be like winning every single game, and then I just die like at essentially 0 because I did like 3 wrong options. And just characters like that, like so those are probably the problem characters. But I'm still like, I guess right now winning right now for now. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Shikani experience, and yeah, again, projectile characters. I think they're still hard. I just got a little bit better. So
So would you put like edge guarding on top? Then in terms of like categories that you don't want to face off against, like edge guarding, then projectile, then mobility, something along those lines.
I think
Like what would
yeah,
you
I think edge
categorize
guarding,
them if you can?
Yeah. I think edge guarding probably be on top because I'm also thinking like Sephiroth. Like I think the Sephiroth players they don't even use all their tools correctly. Like I literally play these Sephiroth players and they're still messing the down air. Rob as well. I just don't understand. But Shulk, so that, and obviously edge guarding, that's like the one situation where you can basically die at 0. So I guess I'll put that one on top. And then in terms of projectiles and rushdown and mobility characters, probably mobility characters on top. It's hard to say, but I'm thinking of Fox and Samus again. But Fox is just like when he gets in advantage state, he just does 1,000,000%, and
Wait,
he still
Samus?
has killing options. And, yeah, I'm thinking of Samus for projectile characters. I'm thinking
Oh,
Fox
okay. The
for
comparison.
mobility.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
And Samus, like you have like options, because whenever you're playing against Fox, like I feel like at some point you can't just jump in. Like, you cannot just jump in, and I feel the same way against Samus as well. But you can bait her because she's not as fast as Fox, and so I guess I would just say mobility over projectiles, I guess, at this point.
And
In
then
this moment
some
in time.
characters have multiple of them, which is why they're so
Mhm.
bad. Like Sheik has all 3 of those, so it's no surprise that if Neo's saying like I don't know if Neo thinks Sheik is the worst matchup, but definitely has to be up there in terms of one
I
of
think
the
he
worst.
does. I think he does.
Okay, that makes a lot of
yeah.
sense. I know Sheik also did really well against Corrin in Smash 4. She was probably a better character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's debatable, obviously, but I mean, both the characters are pretty different in Ultimate, but I guess their archetypes kind of stayed the same, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the Smash 4 characters in this game do really well against Corrin, like Diddy as well, Sheik as well. I guess
Would you say
Fox
Diddy
and Smash 4
because
character,
of
I don't
like
know. But,
Diddy's a combination of mobility and projectile?
and in a way, Edgeguard because of Angel Drop away.
Oh,
'Cause
true.
literally-
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You like
literally
can't do anything.
I'll literally be playing against Tweak, and I'm just like, okay, it's going good. Dies at 40. I'm just like,
that
nice.
was cool.
Corrin did okay against Ziddy in 4, to be fair, because she had
Yeah.
pin. She had a ground game. She doesn't have a ground game in this
Oh
game.
my god!
Yeah, in that game you just pinned and shield and you kicked away, and he couldn't do shit.
Kick
So
away, like, oh my
different.
god!
you know what the worst thing is that he took away tipper pin, because in Smash 4 you would like tipper forward smash. You would tipper forward smash someone's shield and it was like 100% safe. And in this game it feels like almost every character can like shield drop and like dash attack you anyway.
I still
actually-
counter.
I do.
It's
I do.
actually absurd. Like,
Um,
imagine just like being so up against Corrin and you're like, okay, guys, can't get countered because I will
with
die.
rage, with Smash
With
for
the
rage.
rage.
How
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not
that too.
okay? That was robbery.
I actually have a question, because there's something that I saw on Twitter a while back, and I think it's lunacy, but I'd like to hear your take. I saw someone say that Corrin has a good shield. What do you think?
A good shield,
as in
she
like
puts herself in there and then like she has like ways to get out and like
like
there-
it's not that bad for her to be shielding. Like it's a pretty good.
I
thing
would
for her
say
to
it's
do.
pretty bad.
Yeah,
I would
see,
say
like
it's
I
pretty
agree. I think she has like rising damage is fast, but it doesn't
yeah.
do much. Her footstool requires you to space really
footstool.
thoroughly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what else does she have really?
Like she has access to her rising aerials again, like forward air, up air, and the normal universal options. I'm trying to think what else like could she possibly do. I guess jump pin, I guess. But like if you're playing neutral, like let's imagine Corrin versus Incineroar. I try my best to never shield in that matchup because it's just I guess almost any character shouldn't because of Psybe. But like I'm not threatening like some like I don't know Bayo up be out of shield or like who's like a character like I'm not Game Watch, you know, who's a character that like benefits from like putting themselves in shield. Honestly, like I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's somebody that has like a combo starter.
I mean,
Game
sure.
Watch,
like there's characters that are decent in shield, like Game Watch, like Bayo. Like Bayo can also like let's be fair, she can like jump ABK out of shield too. She has a dash tech out of shield. And then there's characters who don't mind being in shield. Like if you're playing Wario, you can run up shield, and if you're wrong, you can like short hop back, and you have so much airspeed. It's kind of the same as just like dashing up and kind of like, you know, it's normal footsies is exactly. But for Corrin, like because her jump like she doesn't have that type of mobility either, it just limits her a lot. And so that's I actually wanted to get your opinion on that, because I know you've been hitting a lot of footstool downers, and so like I think that like that kind of part of the innovation, it's good of course, and it changes the dynamic, but it's also a bit of a matchup check. And I think that kind of leads into my next point, and because I'm curious, what do you think is standing between you and getting like first places at these majors? Because you're getting so close so consistently, but the final 10%, as they say, like the final 10% is as hard as the first 90%. What do you think is the final 10% for you?
So like obviously this recently I lost to Spargo, and I would attribute like a decent portion of me losing as I did, like because I just wasn't as prepared as I was for a lot of other matchups like Lima, Icy and because it's kind of hard to be ready for like everything in a bracket, especially if you don't know, and that's so deep into the bracket. And like I had time, of course, I did prepare, but I think after experiencing that, it's just gonna get even closer, because I've now had so many other situations with him that I can now theorycraft. So I think there's that. And Spargo, I think the Cloud matchup is even, just in case anyone's wondering. Like I think it's a very, very even matchup. I think he obviously is faster and obviously like is more explosive, but I just think Spargo's really good, and I've always respected Spargo. And every time I like see the situations, I'm like, wow, that was just really good. Like I kind of like never in my life have been played against Cloud. Like it's one of the characters I just really think it's just clean, a clean character and a clean player. So just in case anyone's wondering about that. But just thinking about like getting first, like I don't know. I guess I've kind of been in this pattern of losing, solving them into winning, and then I don't really see why I couldn't just do that again. You know,
makes sense. So is it a matter of just like understanding more matchups and forming like new game plans, or are you trying to homogenize your game plan so that it's ready for multiple matchups?
I think the latter more so, because I mean I guess like a little bit of both, you know, because obviously there's some stuff like I haven't discovered yet, like of course anyone can say that, but just also mastering everything I know so far and like putting it all together. Like I think the way like I played against Spargo was just like I was just jumping into back air. Like I literally was just jumping into back air, and I was just like, okay, well if I just make a mental note to just not do that, like what's gonna happen then, you know?
You want to know the secret Smash 4 anti-cloud back air counterplay?
What's up?
Up angled forward smash. They're never ready.
I've literally done that before. I've literally done
that.
On people that like just jump in on me. I just like, especially when I'm like trolling. Especially when I'm just like trolling. I just love doing that. I just love, especially in friendly. It's like I'm like the biggest troll of all time. Like I cannot take this game seriously.
Do it in turn.
It's
Fargo with fun.
Like, I'll be like so raw. But yeah, just I think putting everything together and putting some more time into it, and I think I'll be there for sure.
Do you think Spargo will be your hardest like roadblock just because he's also a sword expert? I mean, just thinking about the players that you haven't like quote unquote solved yet, right? Like first that come to mind is probably like Spargo or Tweak, right? Do you feel like Spargo will be the most difficult, not only because Spargo is like the highest rank of the players so far, and And on top of that, he's just a sword expert, right? Kind of like along the lines of Leo. Just they really understand sword characters. I mean, Spargo has even been pocketing your character. So do you feel like that almost feels like the final boss in your journey to, win a P tier event or something like that?
I guess possibly. Like it's definitely a possibility for sure. I've played. I'm gonna say I've played Spargo for years, but it's like on and off for sure. We played since like the COVID era. So he knows how I think a lot, and I guess I kind of feel the same way. It's just obviously he's just really, really smart. But I just think it's a matter of when we're both playing really, really, really good. And I don't think that was showcased at Collision, but I think what happens is just gonna be it's insane, pretty insane. And then with Tweak, I think Tweak is really hard. Tweak is obviously really hard to beat, of course. And I think Diddy is hard matchup on top of that as well. And so like in terms of like how I feel about Cloud and how I feel about Diddy and their players, like I think the problem with Tweak is more so Diddy, and I think my problem with Spargo is kind of the player, And obviously, I'm not trying to say like Tweak is bad or anything, but like it's just like the way I'm losing is like Angel Drop or just like the character ability to me or like just like the damage output. But when I play against Spargo, I just feel like he gets right here and like I didn't like explode unless I was doing something really, really wrong over and over, which kind of happened. Like I was like getting back here like 50, putting myself off stage and just mashing buttons for some reason. I don't know why I was doing that. Literally, I don't know why I was doing that. But and when I playing a Tweak, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm playing pretty good overall. And then I just like something bad happens because of Diddy shenanigans. But obviously, Tweak had to have like the skill to do that. So just I feel that way. So I guess Spargo is the final boss, but I would probably never really think about it that way. Just another player in my book.
Right. It's more of just like what are you struggling from, and you understand. It's like with Tweak, it's more of just like specific Diddy matchup things that are KOing your stocks really early and stuff like that. And Spargo's more just like player to player call outs.
It's also the dynamic of Corrin can't exactly play her matchup, or rather play her gameplay in the same way versus Diddy Kong, whereas versus Cloud, it's let's both run to the end of the finish line and see who gets there first.
Yeah, that's how I definitely feel about it. Like, Diddy has like his disengaging side B, just banana as a thing in general. It's just really like not like player to player in some situations, So that's why I feel that way in terms of them too, for sure.
Yeah, Transcendent Banana is so broken specifically against swords, right? Like it is very interesting. I was talking to I actually went to a local, and one of the Diddy players there, he was talking about Transcendent Banana being like good and bad in Ultimate, where it's like really good against swords, but it's also really bad against projectiles. Because you throw a banana at Samus charge shot, it goes through the charge shot, Samus takes 3 and you take, or you die, or you lose a stock or whatever. Whereas before it could like just clank and evaporate, right? So it's super good against swords, but then in the trade-off, Diddy just sucks, or banana has less options against certain projectiles and stuff like that. So it's so frustrating because the whole strategy of preemptively swinging is trash against Diddy, because you preemptively swing and it's right, and then they just throw banana, and they could throw banana on the reaction of your swing and you're going to take a million damage. So just the way you have to play that matchup, you probably have to play it like hyper specific for Diddy Kong, because not a lot of characters have or like a projectile that's transcendent, that's like that quick out of shield or something like that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I wanted to go ahead and call attention to something that I'm kind of implying from something you said, make it a bit more explicit for our viewers. So you specifically mentioned versus Light that you aren't necessarily guaranteed to get him next time, even though you've seen success in the past. And likewise, if I remember correctly, the sequence of events versus Samus was you lost to Icy Mist, and then you beat Yara. And then it was significant that you beat Icy Mist in the run back, because even though you had lost to her before, and even though you had beaten Yara, who's generally regarded as the stronger Samus, beating one does not mean you've beaten the other. And did you treat your run back versus like Icy Mist when you had to run into her again? Did you still treat her like it was a fresh thing, or did you just run in thinking, oh, well, I beat Yara, so I'm going to win this time too?
Definitely a fresh thing. And I've always thought like even though you're playing the same character, you're obviously going to play a different form of it. And that's why I still like I watched like a bit of the VODs as much as I could when I played Icy Mist, and I thought about what was happening against Yara, and I was like, okay, well, would Icy Mist do this in this situation? And so I've always thought about that, and that way I don't like fold, as in thinking he's Icy Mist and do something that she wouldn't actually do, but maybe Yara would. So I guess like that. Yeah.
Nice. And I mean, oh God, what else? I had something I wanted to ask, but so what do you think some of these characters like Bayonetta, Fox, do you think it's +1 or -1 or -2? Like I feel like Fox is bad, but it's doable, right? A lot of because even like let's talk about your collision run, right? In terms of Samus, Fox, Bayo, like where would you put these matchups against Corrin? Do you think they're -1s, -2s? What are your thoughts?
Definitely all losing for sure.
Right.
I think Samus is I guess probably the easiest. I think that what makes that one kind of clearer for me is when I'm like in advanced state against Samus, it feels the most free form. Like I don't feel like, oh, I have to be ready for this special option that this character has, such as Bayo specials or air dodge or like witch time or things like that to be aware of. But against Samus, like she just has bomb or like regular options, and she's floaty. And I think like because like I'm allowed to expand on my strength so much, so consistently in that matchup, that's probably like the least problematic. And so I guess I'd probably just say -1, which is more so right. Bayo, I think right now I still have it as -1 as well, because she's obviously like I can explode, but like I can explode her as well. Like I've killed Lima with up airs and like pins at like 80s like pretty consistently in that set alone. But it's just like I need to not let bad stuff happen to me. And there's ways, but if doing it against someone who knows how I play so much and who knows like the weaknesses of my character and where I don't feel comfortable, it's just obviously a lot harder. And so I guess considering how much he knows my playstyle, if I were to play like any other Bayo, I honestly am curious how it would go. Okay, I'm rethinking about it. Every single time I play against a new Bayo, I like struggle in like the first game and then I just destroy them. I don't know what it is. It just always happens. I don't know like how my mindset works against the character, but it always feels like I need like some time to adjust every single time I play a set with her. But probably still -1. Don't feel like it's impossible. Fox, on the other hand, I probably would still say is the hardest of the three, just because at some point it just doesn't feel fair, bro. Like it just doesn't feel like I'm getting the reward that you're getting for like just dash attacking me or just forwarding me. Like hello, and he has his own ways out of like being in the air. He has shine. He obviously is a fast baller. He has his reversal options with his own aerials. He has illusion, and edge guarding him isn't as simple as other characters have it against him. And just I'm ledge trapping him. Oh, also ledge trapping Bayo and Fox. Just so many times I do not feel like I'm in advantage state. Just so many times. And like it's like I can just put myself farther from the ledge. But like why do they even have that like why do I feel so threatened whenever I'm playing against them? Like yeah.
They need it.
I guess. But I guess because Fox has all of that put together, I'd probably say Fox is probably still -2. Definitely really, really tough. And I beat like this time. Who knows how the next time will go?
Is Fox harder to combo than other characters, or the same?
He's because of his fast falling, it's different. Like I did remembering one specific situation. I did forwarder, rising forwarder against light, and he air dodged it, and then he shielded, I believe. I forget what I was doing, but he like down smashed me, and I died. And like I just like what just happened? Like I was just comboing you, and then I just
It's
died.
autopilot comboing, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean it's just tricky, but there's obviously still ways. But it's just like hard to like be ready for it every single time I played against him.
Right.
So
Especially at
definitely
earlier percents.
weirder.
Fox is very weird to combo earlier percents. Most of the
Yeah.
times, most characters need to do just like a 2-hit combo and just get Fox away from them. So that's can be pretty tough, and especially if you don't know your early combo routes against Fox, like know what's guaranteed. There's so many times, or even if you just mess up, like sometimes it just becomes tighter, or you just mess up and then you can get reversaled. Would you also put Diddy in -2, like that same category as Fox?
I think right now I have it as -1, but that's like another character that like
kind of you bounce back
played
between
again-
like -1 and -2, maybe. It's like
yeah, I feel so, but every time I'm playing it, it always just feels fine, and then just die,
and then something
I'm just
tragic happens.
Yes,
tragedy occurs.
tragedy. So I mean, I guess for now I'll say -1, and obviously, like I always think about like what the AD player had to like do to do what happened, and I'm always like, okay, that was good. So when I think about it like that, I always like think of it as less trash. And so I probably would just say like -1.
You think Diddy works hard in the matchup?
In some spots.
Okay.
Like,
He's coping, Chad.
He's
He's
coping.
coping.
These Diddies are trash.
You know,
It's not the player. It's never the player.
But it's crazy
try to
because I
give
feel like
them
against sword characters against Diddy, I feel like Diddy can play pretty simple. Like I don't think he has to do too much crazy high execution checks. Like there's like the banana recatch for combo extensions, and you might get like 20-ish more damage off of that.
Yeah.
But it's just like angel dropping specifically against Corrin is so strong because she doesn't have a hitbox right above her head. So sometimes you just have no mix-ups. If you just get hit so far out the stage, or at earlier percents where you do have double jump mix-ups and timing mix-ups, it's like if they react or if they kind of just read the timing, it's just like there's a clean stock. So I think that is not the craziest execution check, but I mean, I think you've been like the Diddy you've been losing to his tweak, and he just weaves in a lot of movement tech into his neutral. So I think that's the part you might be thinking more of just like, okay, that's a bit harder. But the things that you lose your stocks to, I feel like aren't crazy execution checks.
Yeah.
It's more of just like timing mix-ups or knowing that you don't have mix-ups and then just like executing the angel drop and all that jazz. So I'm very curious what you think about the meta character lineup. I know you said you feel like Corrin does well. Do you think it's like more even? I mean, I guess we can just go like Steve, Game & Watch, Sonic, those three characters, because obviously
Rob
it was Rob, another one.
Robert.
Yeah. So those four, like how do you feel about those ones?
Oh, I guess in Kazuya. I don't know how we got
you got to smash Kazuya.
Does Kazuya still count?
Does
So
he?
Kazuya's-
I don't know. I think one thing people should know about me is I've always like really not cared about tier lists or anything like that.
Just tell them where you're from.
Oh god.
It's too late.
So
You're on
many
our show
Kazuyas
now.
in
So many
Texas.
Kazuya, so many Robs. No, but okay, so match wise, Game & Watch, people have so much mixed opinions about it. Like, okay, Corrin has a sword, winning. While some people are like, okay, Game & Watch advantage state, Corrin loses. Some people think, I think it's probably even, probably.
Okay.
Just because of how Game & Watch, how you have to play the neutral against Game & Watch, it's really just like fighting for my life to just not get hit by Nair or get grabbed. And high percent don't get hit by a forwarder, like low key, like low key. That's just what it is. And because I played Mia, right? And I think game 4, I was winning, and he did like 7 nairs, and I couldn't punish a single one of them. And I was just like, okay, well, good on you, because you know you can do this. And because of how I'm positioned, I can't do anything about it. So yeah, good job. But obviously, I can actually juggle him, kinda. I can scare them from down airing. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
that's really huge. And so those substitute with like forward air or just air dodging. Corrin can kill Game & Watch at like relatively lower percents. Game & Watch is lighter, but Corrin can get edge guarded, which is very, very important because of up B, because of back air, because of down air. And so I think that when you think of everything, like it's pretty even. And I played Meister, went to game 5. I played Mia, really close game 4. And so like all of the games were just really close overall. And so I'll probably just say it's even. Steve. Okay, so I played Onin at Collision. And before that, I didn't play Steve for the longest time. I think literally it was Onin at LMBM, like 2022, 2023.
Lucky you.
I guess so. But it's like, I mean, actually, people might come a little weird, but I actually have fun fighting against Steve. It's honestly really fun. Like, baiting them to just up tilt or like just dash attack or like what I have to do in advantage state, because advantage state and Steve is really because of the blocks and like how they position themselves, like it's so abnormal. And so it's just honestly just fun. I remember I played like friends with a Steve player I would not name, and I was just doing like speakable things to them, and I was just like, bro, what is happening to you? But it was actually just absurd. But obviously in brackets, a different situation. Like there, I had to consider block on your up B, just like ledge traps, and they at in bracket they just become a lot more unwilling to interact with you unless they're like want a combo. But I think Leo and I both think it's good. Like I said, a lot better than other characters. But I'll probably either say even or +1. I don't think it's losing. I don't think it's losing for sure. But
Okay.
maybe very +1. But
Even or +1.
again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like when people kind of like give a range. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, like most Corrin
Yeah.
players think it's either even or +1 or something like that.
Yeah. I just think because of the range and how like F smash as well, like he can't just stand there whenever he's like has a wall and it's like mining, you can just F smash him. Like you're threatening him in situations like most characters maybe couldn't. Like you can pin when he's doing like he has block off stage and he's mining it. You can pin him for doing that. And so like I just feel like she has so many tools that some characters don't. And Sonic it's so funny because there's so many matchups that I just feel like are just even. And I'm probably gonna see even for all of these. Let me think. Maybe Rob is like even +1 ish. I don't know, but I always think Rob like still has cheese, and so
Right.
it's just always hard to say.
Has edge
But,
guarding, like
has edge guarding as well. Has down
Rob
tilt.
doesn't have matchups. He has no matchups.
Yeah.
He
He
can
has
win
gyro.
at any point. He
Gyro.
is gyro. He's there to
Gyro.
death. He has down air 2 frames. It's great.
Contingencies, man.
Yeah, I think all of these are gonna go with even. Like actually,
okay.
which honestly for being even with all these characters compared to other characters,
That's
that's
good.
pretty good.
But
That's
humble
really
mid
good.
tier. Humble mid tier.
Humble mid tier.
Well, she also has a lot of like slight loss matchups from
Yeah.
what I've seen, at least in Neo's matchup chart,
Mhm.
which I think was pretty reasonable personally.
People keep asking me about that matchup chart, and I looked at it for like 2 seconds, and I remember just thinking like what? But I didn't like put any thought into it. I need to look at it again recently because people keep bringing it up. But I remember like looking at them and just thinking like, didn't we like talk about how we both felt this way, and then he put it and it was completely different.
Times
Oh, you
change.
guys did a shared
I
matchup
guess,
chart,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a switcheroo,
But
bro.
I don't know the switcheroo. But
Oh,
I need to look
yeah,
at
that
it
works.
again just to see
Like,
what I was
he
thinking.
just being polite.
Corrin got
but
nerfed since you guys talked last.
I guess.
I feel like
Nah,
as a
but,
competitor though, it's like having majority even -1 +1. I mean, you can't really ask
That's
for
good.
something more than that as a
Yeah.
competitor, especially in a game like Ultimate where there's so many matchups. So I mean, I think that's amazing. Maybe like a couple, like 2 or 3 -2s, maybe, right? Something like that. That's pretty gracious because even -2s, like they're pretty doable. You just have to play in a very specific way. It has to be very well studied and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think you can ask for anything more. Did any of you guys have any other closing thoughts as we wrap up this episode?
I had 2. So first, I wanted to let me put out a disclaimer. I do agree that Corrin's out of shield is a weak point, and whenever it's one of the like 2 main things that I'm looking at universally whenever I'm trying to help somebody to beat a Corrin player is exploiting their out of shield habits. So I can see how somebody would say that Corrin has a good out of shield because specifically her setup. So her ability to put out a sword
Okay.
on your.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay, never mind. I thought you were gonna bring up Dash of Shield. Were you gonna bring that up?
No,
Because
her
you said
dash shield
setup.
is
Oh,
very good.
okay.
Yeah.
I was after Ramses like brought it up. I was like, oh wait, I was thinking of the setup as well. Because if you looked at me playing, you will see how many times I shield because it's just so fast, and so I don't feel really like a reason not to do it because it's just so fast. But okay,
Yeah,
you
for
continue.
context for the viewers, Corrin has the fastest dash shield in the game, shared with Sheik. So most characters, it's frame 10. For Corrin, it's frame 7, if I remember
It's
correctly.
like 8 or 9 or something. I'm not sure. But
Is it 8 or
yeah,
9?
continue.
Off the top of my head, I think it's 8, but it's definitely the fastest. It's in the
I
group of
thought
the fastest.
she can Corrin are fastest, and then there's like me, Gunner, and Mr. Game & Watch because Mr. Game & Watch needed a good
He needs it.
Yeah,
needs
dash
it.
shield.
I swear Game & Watch's shield is actually not that great.
Okay,
Oh,
there you
hot
go.
take.
So
Got
Corrin,
some hot take.
He just has up B.
Corrin and
Yeah.
Sheik have 7 frames of dash, and then on frame 8 the shield comes out.
Oh,
So,
I see.
yeah, there you go.
All right, so the what I was gonna say is like Corrin's ability to set up shield situations and basically control the initiation of it because she gets to start from sooner. So she gets to basically protect her movement into the shield, and most of her attacks, if you're going for like an optimal landing setup, are pretty safe on block. The rising aerials aren't that safe, but they're very good at beating out or reaching other characters before they can reach you. So generally, her rising aerials beat other rising aerials, and then her landing aerials are just it just counters people holding shield. So I think my concept of Corrin is that Corrin is very good at initiating a shield off and basically controlling when that is going to happen. So the Corrin player gets to essentially have priority on choosing the shield off position. And then on top of that, if the opponent tries to kind of leapfrog over to reset that position or reinitiate a shield off, then Corrin is very good at winning that. Even if they play like an RPS and they tie, Corrin wins, is my perspective. And so I think that this also partially leads to people, or this is partially a side effect of people overly respecting Corrin's Nair when it's whiffing. Because people will treat it like it's just active the whole animation, and so they don't want to move into it, especially if they just jump into it once. Then they'll wait for it to basically land before they start to try and press something. So I think Corrin players get away with a lot of rising aerials that they probably shouldn't. On top of that, so like if that is happening, then it essentially sets it up so that Corrin just does 2 different things of 3 and wins on those 2 of the 3 things. So I can see why people would think that.
For
What
sure.
What were you going to add to that, Shadic?
Just the dash shield thing. That was basically what I was thinking of because yeah, she can like set up the situation a lot. And kind of just like immediately just like end it in a way. If they're not as well shielding, like you can just drop the shield. But yeah, just the setup alone, I definitely see why the person feels that way for sure. And I obviously don't play as against Corrin as often, I guess, as some people. Like I play against like Neo and Spargo. I was like, okay, just so anyone doesn't know, I really dislike playing against Corrin. I really dislike it. Like
Most people hate fighting their character.
I guess because of it's a ditto, but I'll play even other characters. Like, I'll play Peach. I play like other sorties, and I'm just like, dude, this is just not fun. Like it's really not. But so like experiencing it for my own is just really funny to me every time. But yeah, for sure. I definitely can agree with what you said, Tony. And what the person thought of as well. But,
yeah, the other side of the coin's always not that great. Whenever I fight a dash attack spammer, like I hate the Fox Mirror, and when I fight up against a Greninja, I'm like, God, this is so annoying. Like you're just full hopping and dash attacking.
That's just hype though. You love that.
Yeah, I love doing
Come on,
it.
Chuck. You love
That should have
that.
been
I
me.
want to be the dash attacker.
I should be doing that.
That should be me, bro.
Only I get to dash attack,
I
not
should have
you.
money that's
my
hair,
move.
and they should have nothing.
Bro,
my move.
bro, dash attacked me during my startup of dash attack. What is going on?
How
dude,
dare
oh
that
my
clown?
God.
All right, well, that will go ahead and wrap things. Oh,
Was
did
there
you
one
one
more?
more point? One more
Yeah,
point?
just one more. Shadic, what would you recommend to our audience who are struggling with Corrin? What would you recommend that they practice doing and start looking for?
Well, stop shielding.
One thing that coming to mind.
Stop shielding. He said that earlier, right? You were saying
Did I
that
say
you
that?
feel like you.
Oh,
well,
wait.
yeah, you don't know why so much people, or like you feel like shielding against Corrin is bad, right? I know you said
Did I say
that
that?
earlier. Yeah.
I remember saying something along the lines of shielding as Corrin is like
As
bad.
Corrin, it's
Is-
pretty. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what you said.
Oh,
would-
my bad.
I would actually suggest
You were
shielding a
saying
little
that it's
more.
annoying.
Oh,
that people
shield,
against you.
oh,
Oh
if your
yes,
opponent-
okay. So I was saying
Yeah.
that it was annoying. Okay, yeah. So because it's annoying, I would suggest it actually because it kind of just stops me from feeling motivated to like interact with you. But of course, then if I just do nothing, then at least you're gonna have to get out of there at some point. But I would actually suggest this to some people. I really would because if you parry something, people I don't think parry her arrows as often. Oh, also one thing when I play against Light, he wasn't parrying as much stuff, and so I was getting away with a lot of things. That shouldn't be so safe. So I would suggest that for sure. Also, fix your disadvantage states because some people just be air dodging, some people just be pressing buttons, and some people just don't want to go to ledge. And it's just like, dude, you're not gonna go to center. You're not. Like I don't know how many times I have to hit you. I don't know how many times I have to swing away.
Yeah.
But just go to ledge. It's not that bad. Like
Do you think she's good at ledge
People
tripping?
mashing
I think-
reversals.
it's so funny because like sometimes I do, sometimes I feel like it's a little hard. I guess it depends on the character. Like literally, I'll play
Okay.
against a Bayo and then literally go to ledge. And like I said, I don't really feel an advantage. So some characters benefit more than others. So I would suggest that as well for sure. So yeah,
Well, I think
fixing
when
disadvantage state and shielding. So yeah.
when like Corrin lacks mobility, so generally they want to control center because if they extend forward and they get reversaled on positioning, that's so bad, right? So like slower characters, and Leo played this style well before anyone else. I think that's one of the things that he was very well ahead of in the meta. Leo played year 1 and 2 to not get reversaled. And he did never, he would not play reversal, and he would always prioritize center stage. So if you tried to like double jump, neutral air dodge to center, he would blow you up for it, right? And now it's more of a standard thing, and especially with low mobility characters. So when Shadic says like, just go to ledge, bro, it's like, I will stay center. There's no option you can do to get the center stage back. My hitboxes beat yours. I will wait your air dodge out, or I'll just frame trap the air dodge. So like, I'm forcing you to go to ledge, so you can go to ledge now, or you can take 30 damage and then go to ledge, right? So it's like, especially against low mobility characters at the level
or mess up.
or skill check Shadic, right? Like,
yeah, I guess.
Good luck with that.
Yes, so, but for sure. Can I add one thing?
Go
Because we
for it.
brought up Leo, but okay. So I think this is one thing that like I might be the only Corrin. Oh, actually, besides Leo, does. I watched him play Meister once, and Meister was baconing under the platform, and I was like, okay, how do you deal with this? And then Leo went through the platform, and then got an aerial out, which I always thought was basically impossible because you don't have the frames for that, but you do if you do it really, really perfect. And the amount of times I just get hits for free at neutral because people don't realize that I'm going to go through the platform and swing at them is actually countless, like these days. And some people ask me about it, like, how do you even do that? I think it's more common like with other characters that have better frame data, like Ness or just like Fox or something, I guess, or Backer, I guess. But it's really, really good doing that option. And I think Leo, I literally got that from Leo. Like that's like if that's anything I got from another Corrin, that's that literally doing that. And I don't know what you would even call that, like because you're essentially going through the platform and then doing an aerial. But I don't have like a phrase for it. But I do it so much. If you watch any of my sets, I'm going to do it. So just wanted to mention that for sure.
Yeah, floatier characters have a little bit more time to do it. Like it's harder to do with someone like Fox or something like that. But essentially, you have to hold down while you're passing through the platform, and then when you initiate an aerial, you uninitiate your fast fall. So if you are fast falling, you let go of down because obviously you don't want to do a down air. So and then you time it. So and then you time the A button, or you're probably going to do nair, right? Or sometimes fair or something like that. But then once you do your air, since you're a little floatier, you'll kind of be suspended in the air for a little bit longer, for a little bit more active frame. So yeah, it's very strong because most people think of platforms as a ceiling where you can't swing, and you can't swing when you're above. But once you get through, that's when you can start swinging.
And I think like the hardest one because it's so slow is back air for sure. And whenever I get it out, I'm like, oh, I'm playing clean because that's literally frame perfect. Especially on like small battlefield or like battlefield because the platforms are so low. It's really, really hard. So yeah, and also if you mess it up, you're probably going to get stuck on the platform and do a tilt. And so that if people see me do that, that's probably what I'm trying to do. Go through the platform. Yeah. Yes, and I just get stuck. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that for sure. Cool.
Nice little tip right before we end the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. So thank you, Shadic, so much for coming on the show. And again, congratulations on all of your recent success. I hope you keep going forward, learning more, and yeah, just showing the world what Corrin can do. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Make sure to leave a comment. Tell us how you feel about Corrin in the current meta. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, class dismissed.